Hi, I'm Carolina. Today, I'm going to tell you my story. But before I continue, please like, share, and subscribe to hear more stories like this. My life changed forever on a Tuesday afternoon in July. I was 37 weeks pregnant, alone, and sitting in my obstetrician's waiting room when everything I'd carefully rebuilt over the last 9 months came crashing down. Miss Reeves? The nurse smiled at me. Dr. Peterson had an emergency. But we've got Dr. Williams covering today. He's one of the best in the state. That's fine, I said, struggling to stand with my enormous belly. As long as someone can tell me if these contractions are the real thing. Little did I know that Dr. Williams was actually Eric Williams, the man who'd abandoned me the day I told him I was pregnant. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up. I met Eric at a charity fundraiser where I was working as an event coordinator. He was charming, successful, and seemingly genuine. We dated for 8 months before I discovered I was pregnant. When I told him, his face changed to something I'd never seen before. "Is it even mine?" he asked coldly. "Are you serious right now?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "We need to be practical, Carolina. This isn't in my 5-year plan." Well, it wasn't in mine either. But here we are, I said, my voice shaking. He paced around my apartment. "I'm not ready to be a father. I've got the merger happening next month. My investment portfolio needs restructuring. And the European expansion." "I get it. Your business comes first," I said. "Look," he said, pulling out his checkbook. "Let's handle this like adults." I stared at him. "You think you can just write a check and make this go away?" "It's the sensible option, for both of us." I tore the check he offered and threw it in his face. "Get out. You'll regret this, Carolina. You have no idea who you're dealing with." 2 days later, I was fired from my job for budget cuts. My landlord suddenly decided not to renew my lease. My credit cards were mysteriously declined. My best friend Mia let me crash at her place while I figured things out. "He's behind this," I told her one night over ice cream. "He's trying to pressure me." "Can you prove it?" she asked. "No, he's too careful." Mia squeezed my hand. "What are you going to do?" "Start over," I said firmly. "Somewhere he can't reach me." I moved to a smaller town 2 hours away, found a modest apartment, and got a job as an office administrator. I made new friends, including my neighbor Vanessa, a retired nurse who became like the mother I'd lost years ago. Any man who runs from his child doesn't deserve to know them, Vanessa told me one evening as we sat on her porch. "You're doing the right thing." "I just want to move on," I replied, rubbing my growing belly. "I don't even want his money anymore." But fate had other plans. Fast forward to that Tuesday in July. I was having consistent contractions and decided to go to the hospital. My regular doctor was unavailable, so they brought in their star physician who normally only handled VIP patients. When the door opened and Eric walked in wearing a white coat, I nearly fell off the examination table. "Carolina?" He looked as shocked as I felt. "What are you doing here?" I demanded. He glanced down at my chart. "I'm covering for Dr. Peterson. I had no idea you were his patient." "I need a different doctor," I said immediately. "Don't be ridiculous. You're in labor. I'm the most qualified person here." "I don't care if you're the Surgeon General. Get out." A contraction hit, and I doubled over in pain. Eric stepped forward. "Let me help you." "Don't touch me." The nurse looked between us, confused. "Do you two know each other?" "He's the father," I spat out. "The one who wanted me to handle it with a check." The nurse's eyes widened. "Oh, that was a misunderstanding," Eric said smoothly. "Carolina was emotional, and I reacted poorly. Ancient history now." "Get me another doctor," I insisted to the nurse. "Dr. Peterson is in emergency surgery, and Dr. Lowenstein is off today," the nurse explained apologetically. Another contraction hit, stronger than the last. "Your water just broke," Eric noted clinically. "You don't have time to transfer hospitals. It's me or the resident who's 3 weeks into his OB rotation." I glared at him through tears of pain. "Fine, but this means nothing." For the next 12 hours, Eric was the picture of professionalism. He delivered our daughter, 7 pounds, 4 ounces of perfection I named Lily, without complication. As he placed her in my arms, his expression changed. Something flickered across his face. "She has my mother's eyes," he whispered. I turned away. "You don't get to notice that." The next morning, hospital administrator Sandra Chen came to my room. "Miss Reeves, Dr. Williams has requested to speak with you. He's also arranged for you to stay in our VIP suite for recovery." "I don't want anything from him." "He's quite insistent. He's also covered all your medical expenses." "Tell him thank you, but no thank you." Sandra shifted uncomfortably. "Perhaps you should hear what he has to say." When Eric arrived, he wasn't alone. A stern-looking woman in an expensive suit accompanied him. "This is Patricia Winters, my attorney," he explained. My heart sank. "If you're here to threaten me legally—" "Quite the opposite," Patricia interrupted, opening her briefcase. "Dr. Williams would like to establish paternity immediately and set up a generous support arrangement." Eric stepped forward. "Carolina, seeing Lily changed everything. I want to be part of her life." "Now you want to be involved? After you destroyed my career? After you tried to bully me into an abortion?" "I never said abort." "You didn't have to. You made it clear she wasn't wanted." Patricia cleared her throat. "Dr. Williams is prepared to offer full financial support, including a house, education fund, and monthly stipend." "In exchange for what?" I asked suspiciously. "Joint custody," Eric replied. I laughed bitterly. "No, absolutely not." "Be reasonable," Patricia said. "Dr. Williams is a respected physician and businessman. Any judge would grant him access." "Let me be clear," I said, looking directly at Eric. "You're the person who abandoned us. You're the person who used your connections to get me fired and evicted. I have the text messages and emails to prove it." Eric paled slightly. "I was upset. I made mistakes." "Mistakes? You tried to destroy me because I wouldn't do what you wanted." "I panicked, Carolina. I wasn't ready. But seeing her, our daughter, I want to make things right. It's too late for that." "I'm her father," he insisted. "Biology doesn't make you a father," I countered. "And money doesn't buy forgiveness." That evening, Mia and Vanessa visited. I told them everything. "He thinks he can just waltz back in because now he's interested?" Mia fumed. "Men like him believe they own the world," Vanessa said, "including you and that baby." "What are you going to do?" Mia asked. "Fight," I replied, looking down at sleeping Lily. "But I need help." Over the next few weeks, Eric became increasingly aggressive about establishing paternity and custody rights. He sent gifts, which I returned. He offered money, which I refused. He showed up at my apartment, which resulted in a call to the police. "You're being unreasonable," he said during one confrontation. "I have rights. Rights you gave up the moment you abandoned us." "I've changed. Why won't you believe me?" "Because leopards don't change their spots," I replied. "You only want Lily because she's a Williams. She's a possession to you, not a person." His eyes narrowed. "If you fight me on this, you'll regret it. I own half the businesses in this town." "Are you threatening me again?" "I'm stating facts. My family has influence. Don't make this difficult." After he left, I called Vanessa in tears. "He's going to take her from me," I sobbed. "No, he won't," Vanessa said firmly. "Not if we expose him for who he really is." That's when the plan began to form. If Eric wanted a custody battle, he'd get one, but not on his terms. I reached out to Sandra Chen, the hospital administrator, and told her my situation. "Dr. Williams has a sterling reputation here," she said hesitantly. "Did you know he tried to pressure me into terminating my pregnancy? That he used his connections to get me fired and evicted?" Her expression changed. "Those are serious allegations." "I have evidence," I said. "And I'm not the only one." "What do you mean?" "Let's just say he has a pattern of behavior." Sandra looked troubled. "What exactly are you asking of me?" "Nothing illegal. Just the truth when the time comes." Next, I contacted my old coworker, Jenna. who had witnessed Eric's controlling behavior during our relationship. "He used to call you constantly," she recalled, "always checking where you were, who you were with. Remember when he showed up at that conference in Dallas unannounced? And made a scene because you were talking to that vendor? Of course I remember. It was humiliating. Would you be willing to testify about what you saw?" "In a heartbeat," she promised. Meanwhile, Vanessa introduced me to her nephew, Mark Daniels, a respected family court attorney. "Your ex sounds like a classic narcissist," Mark said after hearing my story. "Wealthy, entitled, used to getting his way. He's threatening to use his money and connections against me. That might backfire on him. Judges don't appreciate parties trying to manipulate the system." "I'm scared," I admitted. "What if he wins?" "We'll make sure he doesn't," Mark assured me. "But we need to be strategic. What evidence do you have of his behavior?" I showed him the texts, emails, and voicemails from Eric during my pregnancy. The threats, the manipulation, the pressure. "This is good," Mark nodded. "But we need more." "What about his current behavior? The unwanted visits, the threats about using his influence? Document everything, record legally if you can, and keep refusing his gifts and money. It strengthens our position that this isn't about support, it's about control." Our plan came together gradually. We wouldn't just defend against Eric's custody claim. We'd expose his character so thoroughly that his reputation would never recover. The opportunity came sooner than expected. Eric filed for emergency custody, claiming I was unstable and preventing him from forming a relationship with his daughter. The hearing was set for a Tuesday morning. I arrived with Mark, Mia, and a confident demeanor that masked my terror. Eric sat with Patricia and 2 additional attorneys. He looked immaculate in an expensive suit, the picture of a concerned father. The judge, an older woman named Judge Martinez, reviewed the initial filings. "Dr. Williams, you're seeking emergency custody of an infant you've never parented, correct?" "Your Honor, I only recently discovered Miss Reeves had carried our child to term. I couldn't help myself." "That's a lie. Miss Reeves, you'll have your turn," Judge Martinez warned. "I apologize, Your Honor, but Dr. Williams knew I was pregnant. He offered me money to handle it and then systematically tried to destroy my life when I refused." Patricia stood. "These are unfounded accusations, Your Honor." "Are they?" Mark countered, approaching with a folder. "We have evidence of Dr. Williams' threats and coercion during Miss Reeves' pregnancy." He presented the text messages, emails, and witness statements from Jenna and others. Eric leaned forward, whispering furiously to Patricia. "Furthermore," Mark continued, "we have testimony from Sandra Chen, administrator at Mercy General Hospital, about Dr. Williams' inappropriate behavior when he discovered Miss Reeves was giving birth." Sandra stepped forward, looking nervous but determined. "Dr. Williams violated hospital policy by attending to Miss Reeves despite their personal connection. He then used his position to access her medical records after she was discharged." Eric's face drained of color. Judge Martinez frowned. "Is this true, Dr. Williams?" "I was concerned about my child's well-being," he replied stiffly. "You had no legal right to access those records," Sandra stated. "That's a HIPAA violation." The hearing continued with mounting evidence against Eric. Jenna testified about his controlling behavior. My former landlord confirmed receiving pressure from Eric's business associates to terminate my lease. By lunch recess, Eric looked rattled. His attorneys huddled in urgent discussion. When we returned, Patricia requested a private conference with the judge and Mark. "They want to offer a settlement," Mark told me afterward. "Full physical custody to you, generous support, and limited supervised visitation for Eric." "No," I said firmly. "No visitation." "Carolina, that's unlikely to—" "He threatened me again just last week. Said he owned this town and I'd regret fighting him." Mark's eyebrows shot up. "You didn't mention that." "I recorded it," I said, pulling out my phone. "One-party consent state, remember?" When the recording played in court, Eric's face contorted with fury. His attorneys looked resigned. Judge Martinez's decision was swift and decisive. "Dr. Williams has demonstrated a pattern of manipulation, coercion, and attempts to use his wealth and influence inappropriately. I find no evidence he's seeking custody for the child's benefit, but rather to punish Miss Reeves for defying his wishes. Sole legal and physical custody is awarded to Miss Reeves, with no visitation for Dr. Williams at this time. She wasn't finished. Additionally, I'm referring Dr. Williams to the medical board for ethics violations and possible HIPAA breaches. This court will also forward evidence of potential witness intimidation to the district attorney's office for review. I felt tears streaming down my face as the reality set in. We'd won. Outside the courthouse, Eric approached me, his face tight with anger. "You've made a terrible mistake," he hissed. "This isn't over." "Actually, it is," I replied calmly. "And if you come near me or Lily again, the restraining order will be the least of your problems." 6 months later, Eric's life had imploded. The medical board suspended his license pending investigation. 3 other women came forward with similar stories of manipulation and control. His business partners distanced themselves after the negative publicity. Meanwhile, I used the court-ordered support payments to start my own event planning company. Lily thrived, surrounded by people who truly loved her. One afternoon, I received a letter from Eric. "I understand now. I was wrong. Please, let me see my daughter. I'm getting help." I tore it up without responding. Vanessa found me on the porch later, watching Lily sleep in her carrier. "No regrets?" she asked gently. "Not one," I replied. "He made his choice 9 months before she was born. We don't need him now." "He lost everything," Mia commented, joining us with lemonade. "No," I corrected her. "He threw it away. There's a difference." The following week, I learned Eric had moved overseas after selling his remaining business interests. He never contacted us again. Sometimes people ask if I feel guilty about how things turned out. They wonder if Lily deserves to know her father. But I remember his face when I told him I was pregnant. The coldness, the calculation, the check he tried to write. I remember the weeks of fear and uncertainty after he used his power to punish me. Some toxicity you don't forgive. Some bridges stay burned. Some people don't deserve second chances. Lily and I built our life without him, and it's a beautiful one. When she's older, I'll tell her the truth, that sometimes the family you choose is stronger than the family you're born to. So, what would you do if someone who once tried to destroy you suddenly wanted back in your life? Would you give them that second chance? Or would you close the door forever?